Disturbing information, according to the mother. Her daughter was shot and killed in front of her own children by her husband.
I just talked to her a couple of days ago. We were making plans to go to a family
She was a
trip.
girl.
She had a kind spirit. She loved her children. She loved us. She loved her brother. It is. It's still in my heart because that's my only daughter. Even if it wasn't my only daughter, she came from me, and someone took her life. And it's not somebody. Her husband took her life. That young man did not just take my daughter. He took an aunt, a mother, a sister, a friend. This hurts so much. I've been asking people to share the GoFundMe. I've been asking people to share the story about what happened. My daughter was only 28. The young man was 22. Like, all I want right now is to hold my daughter, and I can't. Now I'm left to take care of my grandson. It's so unfair. So unfair.
Now, this is a story you really need to hear and share. Not for the shock value, but because if we listen close enough, we might just learn how to spot the wolf before he gets through the door. Because there's a twist that cuts very deep. On February 12th, 2026, a 28-year-old Lexus Antrum, a mother, a rapper, an aspiring actress, a woman with a voice that demanded to be heard, was shot 7 times by her husband while her 2 young sons listened from the next room. 7 times. Let that number land with you for a second. Not 1 shot in a moment of blind rage. Not 2. 7. That's a pause, a re-aim, a pull of the trigger, over and over again. Her 7-year-old and her 13-year-old didn't see it happen, thank God, but they heard it. They heard their mother's life end in a staccato burst of gunfire at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, I want you to hold that image, because just the day before, or maybe a couple of days prior, Lexus was on the phone with her mother, Tunisia. They were doing what mothers and daughters do. They were planning a family trip. Laughing, talking about the future, picking dates. Tunisia had no idea that she was hearing her daughter's voice for one of the last times. She had no idea that she was about to bury her only daughter. But here's the twist that cuts deeper than any knife or bullet. Tunisia has been here before. She knows this exact grief. She knows the specific taste of this poison. 27 years ago, Tunisia lost her own mother. How? To domestic violence. To a husband. That man, Tunisia's stepfather, killed her mother and then turned the gun on himself. No answers. No trial. Just silence. And now, 27 years later, history didn't just repeat itself. It reached out of the grave and grabbed Tunisia by the throat. Before we unravel how this happened, how a wolf in sheep's clothing walked right past a woman who had been hunting him her entire life, hit that like button and subscribe to True Crime Unravelled. We read every comment. We see the super thanks, we appreciate you, and we keep telling these stories so that maybe, just maybe, we can spot the pattern before it's too late. Let's get into it. To understand the tragedy of February 12th, 2026, you have to understand Lexus Antrum when she was alive. This wasn't a woman living in the shadows. She was vibrant. She went by Jamani on social media, and she was chasing a dream. She was into music, modeling, rapping, reality TV. She wanted to build a platform. She wanted to be seen.
Look, I know I'm kinda a little late with this shit. I just been patient and shit. When I be going through the motions, get real distant and shit. I had to learn it ain't no friends in this shit. Whether you really got talent ain't a factor no more. They only checking if you poppin'. You gotta have a big audience and then you know you locked in. City of brotherly love, but experience the most slick shit. Niggas really be hating. Read the dick, ride a random stat to help your mans make it. Nigga, that's that gay shit. When I smoke, it's only faces. You bitches be two-faced. Had to move my family out to the A. They really hope I make it. I hate to keep them waiting. I'm building from the mud, so I only extra patience. Listen, my first gig, he really tried me on some fuck shit. I left that little model agency shit so quick. I only dipped my toe in, but I still learned a lot. I'm not that bitch that's not a knock. Gonna fuck my way to the top. I got some shit I wanna get off my chest. Why you niggas with the clout always be so pressed? Wanna help a shorty out, but exchange to some sex. One nigga had the nerve to really beg me to sex. Like, what the fuck is this? You really doing this?
Just listening, I'm just like, who are you talking about? Because I'm not even gonna hold you. I don't know nobody's name at this point. So I'm just like, okay, who's she talking about? Then she tell me and I'm like, oh, that's the girl that, you know, be talking to me or whatever. She's talking about Trouble. So I'm like, okay. I go back in the house and Trouble walks up to me in the kitchen and just start telling me about another girl. Whole time she don't even know the girl. Jazz just already told, like, they both talking to me about what they got going on with each other. And I'm just
above
sitting there
all
like,
else,
damn,
she
I
was
just
a
showed
mom.
up like this was
Her kids were her world. She moved to Columbus, Georgia, a military town, a place where people go to reset and build something stable. And then she met Kevawn Davenport. Kevawn was 22, 6 years younger than her. And on paper, on camera, he was perfect. I'm telling you, this man played the role of husband of the year, like he was gunning for an Oscar. He called Tunisia mom. He brought Lexus flowers. He was polite, respectable, well-mannered. If you looked at his social media, you'd see it. Photos of Lexus, captions calling her his favorite girl, heart emojis, the whole 9 yards. To the outside world, they were relationship goals. But here's where it gets murky. Those posts, they weren't windows into their love. They were walls. Every single post was a brick in a fortress designed to keep the truth in and the suspicion out. He was building an alibi in real time, not for a courtroom, but for the court of public opinion. He was so good that he fooled the one person on earth who had a PhD in spotting domestic abusers, Tunisia. Tunisia Shields was not naive. She had been bathed in the reality of domestic violence since 1999. She knew the statistics. She knew the signs. She watched her daughter's relationships like a hawk because she knew the stakes. If anyone should have been able to smell something off about Kevawn, it was her. But she didn't. She said it herself, he had me fooled. I didn't know what my daughter was really going through. And Lexus? She kept quiet. After she died, a woman from her job came forward and talked to Tunisia. She told her things about that marriage, details that Lexus never shared with her own mother, things that broke Tunisia's heart all over again. We don't know the specifics, but we know the effect. It was a second layer of grief. The realization that her daughter was suffering in silence right in front of her. So let's talk about that morning. February 12th, 2026. 4 in the morning. That's a weird time. It's not an argument about what's for dinner. It's not a spat over a TV show. For AM is the hour of truth, the hour when masks slip. Something had been building. Kevawn had actually called Tunisia earlier about some arguing, but Tunisia, bless her heart, tried to stay out of it. She gave advice. She tried to mediate from afar. She didn't know she was talking to her daughter's killer on the phone. Inside the house on Gardiner Drive, things escalated. Gunfire erupted. When police arrived at 4:03 a.m., they found Lexus on the bedroom floor. Unresponsive. Multiple wounds. Her body was sent to the GBI crime lab. They also found Kevawn. He was shot too in the leg. Now, initially, the family was told she was shot 3 times. 3 is bad, but 3 is a moment of madness. 3 can be argued. But then the correction came 7 times. 7. In that bedroom, in that early morning dark, Kevawn Davenport shot his wife 7 times. And then, with that same weapon, he shot himself in the leg. Why? Was it to sell the story? To make it look like a struggle? Because as soon as the cops walked in, Kevawn's mouth started moving, and the first words out of it were self-defense. Self-defense. I want you to think about the audacity required to say that word while you're bleeding from a self-inflicted leg wound, with your wife's body cooling on the floor and your kids in the next room. The police weren't buying it. Within 24 hours, while Kevawn was still lying in that hospital bed at Piedmont Columbus Regional, detectives walked in and served him with a murder warrant. They didn't wait for him to heal. They didn't wait for a fancy lawyer to show up. They walked in, read him his rights, and charged him with murder and possession of a firearm during a crime. Now, why so fast? Because the physical evidence told a different story than Kevawn's lips did. The trajectory of the bullets, the position of the bodies, the lack of defensive wounds on Lexus, something in that room screamed execution, not struggle. Kevawn was arrested, chained to a hospital bed, and is now awaiting transfer to Muscogee County Jail. But the story doesn't end with an arrest. It ends with a mother staring into a camera, trying to raise money to bring her daughter's body back home to Philadelphia. It ends with a balloon release where the balloons float up, but Lexus doesn't come back down. Tunisia posted a video. She is raw. She is angry. She says, no matter what, nothing is going to bring my daughter back. No excuse. I don't even want a reason why you did it. I just want justice served.
All right. I don't know if anybody's up. Unfortunately, for me, I'm up because I can't sleep. I have a lot on my mind. I have a lot on my plate. So excuse the way I look. So I have been reaching out to so many people. I have been reaching out to a lot of bloggers, a lot of social media people, the news, and I have yet to get a response back from anyone. So for a few on Instagram. One of the reasons why I have been reaching out, as everybody is aware of, that my daughter Lexus, my only daughter, was murdered last Thursday. It's crazy because just last month, made January 16th, actually, to be exact, made 27 years that my mother was murdered. January 14th, I got a phone call that my husband had passed away. All those that know that me and my husband was separated, but legally still married. Whole nother story. On February 12th, I got a phone call that something had happened to my daughter. And we were all making calls because we wasn't sure what happened. We didn't know what happened. When we made the call to the hospital, they didn't have her body, and all the nurse could tell us was we needed to get down there ASAP. So, we had to gather money together to go to Georgia. Prior to going to Georgia, we did find out that my daughter, Lexus, she goes by Jemani on social media platforms, that she had been shot 3 times. So we're thinking at first, that maybe it wasn't as serious. It was serious because it's shot, but we later found out that my daughter was shot 7 times. and the anger and the rage, it's still in my heart. It is. It's still in my heart because that's my only daughter. Even if it wasn't my only daughter, she came from me, and someone took her life. And it's not somebody. Her husband took her life. Sadly, January 16th made 27 years that my mother has been gone. And somebody took her life. And the person that took my mother's life was her husband. And he took his life. So I never could get answers on why he did what he did to my mother. And here it is, 27 years later, I'm going through the same thing. My grandchildren, which are her two sons, her oldest and her youngest son, was in the other room when it happened. So they heard their mother being killed. One of the purposes of this video is to make people aware, even though we know that domestic violence exists, but it's real, that so many people deal with it in silence. They don't speak up for many different reasons why. I met the young man that killed my daughter. I met him last year. And he didn't seem like an angry young man. He was respectable. He was polite. He bore her flowers. He did everything for her and those kids. The only people that know what really happened in that bedroom is him, her, and God. I have been reaching out to so many platforms. I have been tagging so many people. The news up here, because it made the news in Georgia. But I'm trying to get it to make the news here. We're also trying to get her body shipped back up here so we can get her a proper homegoing service. That young man did not just take my daughter. He took an aunt, a mother, a sister, a friend. This hurts so much. I've been asking people to share the GoFundMe. I've been asking people to share the story about what happened. My daughter was only 28. The young man was 22. We're in the process of trying to bring her body from Georgia back to Philadelphia so we can give her a proper service. I've been asking, and I'm one of them ones that don't like to ask. But I've been asking, and we've been posting. I don't know what to do and how fast to get money up. But it has been a struggle. It has been a struggle. We're just trying to get her home. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get her home. I am still so angry. I am still angry with this young man. I am still angry because I don't know what happened to my husband, although we were separated. Like, all I want right now is to hold my daughter, and I can't. Now I'm left to take care of my grandson. It's so unfair. So unfair. After this video, I am posting a link because I'm new to all this live stuff. I'm posting a link. I'm posting a story. I am asking for help to get my daughter back home.
But the part that sticks with me, the part that is the reason we are telling this story today, is when she talks about January 16th, 1999, the day her mother was murdered. She says, "I never could get answers on why he did what he did to my mother. And here it is, 27 years later, I'm going through the same thing." That is the unique horror of this case. This wasn't just a domestic dispute gone wrong. This was the fulfillment of a curse that Tunisia had spent her entire life trying to break. She lost her mother to a husband with a gun. She lost her daughter to a husband with a gun. And her grandsons? They are now being raised by the grandmother who survived both massacres. Here is the hard truth, and I want you to really listen. Domestic violence doesn't just hurt the person in the moment. It rewires the children who hear it. Those two boys, 7 and 13, are now part of a statistic. Research shows that witnessing domestic violence as a child significantly increases the risk of either perpetrating it or being victimized by it later in life. It's called the intergenerational transmission of violence. Tunisia knows it. She lived it. She saw her mother die, and then her daughter die, both by the same mechanism. The only way to stop the cycle is to recognize that the wolf doesn't always look like a wolf. Kevawn Davenport didn't look like a killer. He looked like a son-in-law. He looked like a doting husband. He brought flowers. He had manners. And behind closed doors, he was a man capable of squeezing a trigger 7 times while his children listened. As we close this chapter on Lexus's story, I want you to ask yourself a question. Not about Lexus, but about the people you know. How many women are posting happy pictures on Instagram right now while living in a house where the walls have ears, but no voices? How many men are playing the role of the good guy, while the people closest to them are walking on eggshells? Lexus's story is a warning. It's a warning that the danger isn't always the stranger in the alley. Sometimes, it's the man calling you mom on the phone. If you or someone you know needs help, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. It's okay to leave. It really is. Tunisia told us that. We want to give a massive shout out to everyone who has been supporting the channel. To the super thanks gifters who have helped us keep the lights on, we see you. We appreciate you. We could not unravel these truths without you. If you haven't already, please leave a comment below. Do you think Kevawn planned this, or was it a snap? Could the system have done more to protect Lexus? Let us know. Don't forget to subscribe to True Crime Unraveled on YouTube. And over on Facebook and TikTok, we are True Crime Unraveled TV. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.
We begin tonight in the Fountain City, where Columbus' mother is grieving an unimaginable loss. Her daughter killed in a domestic violence act. News Leader 9's Amaya Graham joins us now live from the crime scene on Gardiner Drive, where that shooting happened. And Amaya, you spoke with the mother of the victim. What can you tell us? That's right, Rosalind. Disturbing information, according to the mother. Her daughter was shot and killed in front of her own children by her husband. Take a listen.
Her dream was to be an actress.
That dream was cut short February 12, 2026, around 4 a.m. Columbus police officers responded to Gardiner Drive in reference to a shooting.
I just talked to her a couple of days ago. We were making plans to go on a family trip.
Tunisia Shields tells me she never thought she would have to bury her daughter, 28-year-old Lexus Antrum, who she describes as a loving and caring young woman who always spoke her mind.
And she was a giver. She had a kind spirit. She loved her children. She loved us. She loved her brothers.
When officers arrived, they discovered Antrum, who had been shot and was unresponsive. Antrum's mother says it happened in front of her daughter's 2 young sons, ages 7 and 13. Antrum's husband, Kevawn Davenport, was also found with a gunshot wound. Davenport was charged the next day with murder.
Called me mom, and he was respectable. He had called me in regards to, I guess, them arguing about some stuff that happened. And I try to stay out of my children's stuff because they're grown, and I tried to get the best advice I could, but I didn't know it was like this.
Seals says she feels guilty that she was not able to intervene and help diffuse the situation. Her daughter's loss carries even deeper pain because domestic violence has already impacted her family in the past, losing her mother and father in a murder-suicide many years ago.
It's okay to leave. It really is. It's okay to leave. Because if you don't leave, you can end up like my daughter and like my mother.
Seals sharing a message to her daughter's alleged killer.
No matter what, nothing's going to bring my daughter back. No excuse, I don't even want a reason why you did it. I just want justice to be served.
Now, the mother is asking the community for help as she faces mounting funeral costs and the burden of bringing her daughter back to their hometown of Philadelphia. That link can be found on our website, WTVM.com. Live in Columbus, I'm Amaya Graham reporting for WTVM News Leader 9.
Such a sad story. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with the victim's mother. Amaya, thank you so much for that live report tonight.